The one thing that we've seen the Springboks do twice over the course of the championship is let in soft moments, soft tries. And the softest arguably was immediately from kickoff when we played the Argentines in the second test. From kickoff, no one received the ball and they let the ball bounce.
So if you look at the way that we receive the kickoffs, the Springbok receiving the kicks, that's been quite difficult for us in terms of how we're setting up. I mean, there's ways that you set up. Other teams have 3 pods up. We have normally 3 pods up. So, I mean, if you look at this one, this is something that the New Zealanders sort of enjoy, AJ, especially on the right-hand side with Kieran Reid chasing up and going for that kick. And this is where I think that we have to really sharpen up at the end.
I think we spoke about this where the receiving team can only line up on what they get presented by the team that kicks off. So if the team kicks off and they split their forward pack, then it means there are guys receiving it on the one side and guys receiving on this side, and sometimes they put even loose forwards in the middle. That makes it difficult for the receiving side. So you've got to split then. You've got to basically have your lock and prop on the one side, the other lock and prop this side, and some teams do it differently. Some teams just have 1 pod in the middle, some have 2. Once you've got 2 pods, you obviously have to have a backline player jumping or supporting one of the other loose forwards. So, look, they do analysis on all the teams. They know, like you're saying, the All Blacks, how they kick off. So, but mistakes happen.
Yeah.
And at this level, we don't want it to happen because a team like New Zealand, like the All Blacks, they'll pounce on that. And that's what they want. One little mistake and they retaliate.
Yeah, I think you mentioned about mistakes. You know, kickoffs are like a set piece, and I think as much time needs to be given to the set piece as we do with scrums, as we do with lineouts. And I think it's probably been neglected in previous years, but it's now become a very important facet of the game. Getting turnover ball from kickoffs, seen Kieran Reid won the game against Australia by doing that. So getting bodies in the air, the support from behind, someone in the slips, ensuring if it does go over there that they are there. And also, you know, we're going to chat about it later, AJ, but I prefer, you know, the supporter giving the jumper space, so he can go forwards, can go backs, and he can apply himself in the air, take up that space and ensure that we get positive balls from it.
Show us, Coach Kempson. I mean, if there's a youngster watching or a bunch of youngsters watching,
well, yes,
pick up the heaviest guy.
Yeah, we'll lift the heaviest guy.
So, I mean, AJ would have played lock in the later parts of his career when he put on a bit of weight. But you know, generally speaking, all of our forwards are holding on to our players like this. So moving, you know, they are quite agile because they do practice quite a bit together. But if you give them a bit more space, as you probably about 4 or 5 meters go forward, bit bubs, and then from there he can move backwards, he can move forwards, and there's also an alternative. If there's another pod set up further backwards, there's an alternative of him getting to that pod as a front lifter as well.
Okay. I'd like to add on that. I actually like the other way around. Now, different guys obviously do a different way. If Robbie's supporting me, it's a bit the lock that's closest to the touchline.
Yes.
I actually like my guy to be on me because he'll stick with me.
And move with you.
But I'll start back. I'll start as far back as I feel comfortable, closest as I can to the touchline. That gives me space and opportunity. Once the kickers go, the risk with that is if there's a lot of
traffic,
wind, it might stop and might throw you a bit off. I like this. So in this way, Robbie is bound to me. I can time my jump and go. The only negative with this is if I just misjudge it, if Robbie's on me, if I misjudge it, I'm against Robbie, I can't go back. And this is possibly what happened on Saturday. There was just not enough space and it went over.
And that's the importance. You want the blind side wing, wherever it might be, is scrum off on the far touch line, in the slips behind. So if it does touch the fingertips, he's there to get the ball as well.
You've been lifted quite a lot in lineouts, from kickoffs. Basics. What is it that you have to do? Is it the same old, same old? Is it keep your eye on the ball until the last possible moment? Is it hands out? Is it hands in when you're in the air? I suppose, I'm assuming, because you're not all that stable.
It's a lot of practice. That's the only thing you can do. And this is something historically we didn't train often. It was something that you do after training. So on your own, the prop and the lock will go and one guy will kick. And guys don't often do that. This is something like a kicker. He's got to just basically get down. He's got to get his 100 kicks a week. Same with this. It's practice, 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 practice.
I guess technically, if you want to really say it, similar to how the cricketers catch a ball.
Yeah.
If your hands are leading up and you can see the ball coming into your hands, you've got more chances of catching the ball because you can see the ball. Tendency of players taking their hands down and then you miss the flight and having your eyesight onto the ball, getting your hands below. So when you have your hands up a bit, it does help.
I think, AJ, one of the importance is taking up the space as well. So, when you see the ball at its apex, you want to be in a position where you're going to be taking up the space and players from the opposition can't be in that space. And of course, the gold is taking it up here because you're in there at the same time and you can't be touched. So that would be the most perfect scenario you could have.
I mean, if you look at it, let's look at the New Zealand receipts because they've got a different way of setting up and they four parts. So it suits the way that they want to play because they want to play with width. So by having splitting up your parts and make sure you've got full coverage and that helps you in that way. Now you can start your attack and you can go into your default plays.
The one thing that the Boks have been really good at is actually clearing from kickoffs. But with the receipt, obviously, we've seen a little bit of struggle. Why is that? Because we haven't necessarily seen it, Bobs, in the last year or two or three.
Yeah, I mean, it's different with how these guys are going about it because they make sure that they set themselves up with their right-footed kicker. So normally they fly off Zapuanga and you got Bowden Barrett. They'll be around there trying to catch that. If he goes over this way, your slips you're talking about, Rob, you got Milner Scudder there waiting. But on the other end, they do have TJ Penarara who can kick with his left.
I think it's also important, as soon as the ball goes over a player's head, they're already forming that V shape to protect the catcher of the ball from the oncoming opposition. Illegal, yes, but very effective ensuring that the ball carrier is protected.